Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Honestly Hannah, a podcast hosted by me, Hannah Coda, where I share all my honest opinions about all things going on in the world. I am treating this podcast like a diary, and trust me, I have a lot to say. Welcome to this week's episode. Oh my goodness. So this week I have a guest. Her name is Cassidy Chavez. She has been my friend basically since birth. I met her in kindergarten, and we are still friends to this day. We sit down and talk about all of our college RA stories. If you don't know what RA is or what it stands for, it stands for resident assistant. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically someone who watches over and serves as like this guide, like advisor type person to all of the people who live in student housing when you go to college. And we're going to get into a lot of weird, outrageous, but yet heartwarming stories about our RA days. And we'll also go into a little bit more of like what an RA is and what they do. Every university has RAs if they have student housing. So I think there's going to be a lot of RAs who listen to this episode that can relate. And if you weren't an RA or you never had an RA, you are definitely going to be entertained by this episode. We share a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff I haven't talked about in a long time, in a couple of years, so it was really interesting to get into. After my interview with Cassidy, I go into the news and just talk about what happened last week, and then I end with a little piece of advice. So yeah, that's pretty much this week's episode. I hope that you guys enjoy it. So let's go ahead and start our interview with Cassidy.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this college-based RA episode. This is Cassidy Chavez. Hi, Cass.
Hello.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know Cassidy, I grew up with Cassidy from kindergarten, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like we were little nuggets.
Mm-hmm. And then we separated pretty much at birth and then reunited in middle school, went to high school together, and then went our separate ways again for college. And then now here we are in our adult lives.
It still feels like I know little Hannah with her little ascot that she would wear like every day in the first grade.
Don't need to mention that. It was so embarrassing. Like my significant other still hasn't seen any of those pictures, and I'm like trying to hide them.
Hannah, that look was iconic. Like I remember, like you were that bitch. Like Hannah was that bitch. She's been that bitch like all the way from like elementary school to high school. I promise you. Like you ask people from my high school, like, oh, that bitch. And like to wear an ascot, like as like a 5-year-old? I'm like, whoa.
And my mom swears that I picked that out. How does a 5-year-old pick out a little scarf to wear?
And to wear it like you were from France or something.
Literally. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Honestly, I could probably talk about you for days, but
because it'd be the same as talking about you.
I mean, kind of, but in a sense different though. Like I feel like your college experience, I feel like calmed you out like a lot, and it's mostly due, I think, to where you went to college, right?
For sure. Yeah. Okay. So I'll do like my little elevator pitch on like who I am, selling myself out to the world. Who is Cassidy Chavez? Cassidy Chavez is me. I'm that bitch. Yeah, so me and Hannah have known each other for the longest time. We, our moms were friends and like let us have like little play dates. I feel like we have very similar like upbringings or like just like family life circumstances. We're both Libras.
Yes.
I think that
is apart.
Yes, I feel like that has a lot to do with like just like the Libra connection that we have. And about me. Let's see. Okay. So Hannah basically said it like I went to University of Hawaii. That's where I went to college. I was like pre-med for the first few years, switched to women's studies.
I totally forgot about that.
Dark days, Hannah. Oh my We're not the funnest.
I mean, you still ended up like in the healthcare like ish community. So
yeah, we won't talk about that. That's my quarter life crisis coming out right now.
But yeah, and so we went to high school, we did cheer, we were both into cheer. We ended up on so we were like on Lorbeer Middle School right together.
Oh my God, yes, middle school cheer and then high school cheer.
Yeah, and then high school cheer. But like I feel like me and Hannah always had a special bond because like we were always put together because we were like always similar heights. So like when you're a base like in cheer, like you have a connection, you have to be very in sync with that person. So that's me and Hannah for sure.
Can't be little hussies.
Yes, definitely.
Can't be little hussies in cheer. You always have to communicate.
Yes. You know, you should do an episode on cheer because there is so much drama you could drudge up there. That would be fun.
That episode coming soon.
Huh?
I said that episode coming soon.
Yes, please do an episode on that. Bring out the most dramatic cheerleader or the most drama queen. We won't name names.
Whatever. I'll invite them to the podcast and call them out.
Yeah, please. They need to be called out. But yes, we did middle school cheer, high school cheer. We also like joined a show together one year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we're very like outgoing. Don't give a F if we are being embarrassing. Like we are very much like outspoken people, I think.
Yeah. I feel like they would, if people were to describe us, like both words that would like come out would probably be extroverted, loud, friendly, personable, confident. Like those are words that I think I would describe you. And I think hopefully
yeah, no, I think, well, for sure. I feel like that describes you. I think people like, I was going to say bubbly, but I'm not bubbly. I feel like you're a little bit more bubbly than I am.
You are Rain Clown Hannah.
Yeah, we don't speak of that nickname. It's so funny too, Cass, because like at my job, it's just like I'm a whole different person at my job in terms of my personality because I'm so happy at my job. Like I love my job. I walk around like smiling and like, whatever. And like when I tell people like what my nicknames and stuff used to be when I was younger, they're like, what? And they're like, well, we get like the drama part, like the dramatic part. But like when I say that like I used to be Rain Cloud Hannah, like they're like, what? Because I'm just a completely like different person. And it made me really realize like how unhappy I was in high school.
Do you think like do you think that's just a side of you, or like do you think that was just like a time in your life?
I think I was just a realist, right? Like, I think I've always been very realistic. I think I've never sugarcoated really anything. Like, I'll tell you how it is. I'm one of those people. Yeah. But I also think that I was going through a really, really hard time in high school, right? Like, I have shared some stories about boys on this podcast already in high school, but also like, and something that I've just mentioned, like I was going through a divorce, which you actually helped me a lot with, because
we were both going through that. Like,
yeah. And like, we had similar relationships with our parents and we still do essentially.
Trauma bonding.
Literally trauma. Like there were many times I would come into the cheer room or whatever and just be like, I am not the happiest person right now, like, and I am going through something. And I feel like that's another level where you and I connected. We were just pretty much on the same level with that.
When I think of that cheer room, I'm like, when I look back, I'm like, wow, that was legitimately like the psych ward rec room mixed with like therapy room. And like, just like the drama that we would do and talk about, like, we were always talking about like boys, talking about like, and that kind of, I think is very similar to like how it is with your RAs. I don't know if this like, it was similar for you.
Yes.
Like just to bring it back to like the topic.
Yeah.
That bond that I had with like the cheerleaders was so similar to like when I went to college and experienced that. Yeah.
I think it was probably more similar in my sorority, but when it came to like RA stuff, it felt very much like ASB, or like it felt like, me and you were not in ASB, but we basically were in ASB because we were helping out like at freaking any corner that we could. Like we couldn't commit to like being in ASB, but like I'm just thinking about like Scott and like all those people, like we were like, what do you need? Like, do you need help setting up? Because it affected us, you know? And that's how I feel like being like an RA was. Like, if I can compare like the two experiences, I would say being an RA is like being on ASB.
For sure.
But to like a whole nother level.
a whole nother level.
I think we could just start off there of like, RAs do not get paid enough. Like RAs, it is not worth, I think personally, the stuff that you go through does not equal the amount that like you get like monetarily paid for. And we can talk about all that in a minute. But also like, I don't know, like it taught me a lot, but there were some traumatic experiences. And I know we've talked about it, but like we're going to talk about it on here. But like there was a lot of experiences that I didn't realize until like now that I'm reflecting on it, that I was like, I was not getting paid enough for this. They should not allow little 19-year-old Hannah, little 20-year-old Hannah, 21, you know, in charge of this serious like crisis mode situation. Like, I really don't think people understand how much RAs go through, how much training they have to do, how many like just surprise experiences that you have to go through.
No, seriously, like you're exactly right. Like the juice is not worth the squeeze, I will say. For most people, probably. It was still a fun experience, but like, holy shit, you are like a therapist, you're a security guard, you're a cop, you're a mother, you are a friend, like you're a crisis advisor, like I don't even know, like so many different roles that you play in being an RA. But that being said, yeah, counselor, therapist, yeah, all those fucking everything. But that being said, like I do think it's a fulfilling job for some people,
right. I will say that there are so many things that I learned in that position that I don't think I would have gotten a jump start on if I had any other job. Like there are some qualities and some skills that I have now that came out during that job that I now am like utilizing today. But that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into what it was like to be a college RA. I know not a lot of people talk about this. Honestly, I think mostly because there's a lot of traumatizing stories. So I know that there's a lot of mysteries, you know, to being an RA, and that you guys all want to know if you ever lived in college housing. So let's go ahead and get into that portion. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about our RA experiences. So you mentioned that you went to college in Hawaii. You were an RA there. What year did you become an RA, and how long were you an RA?
Yeah. So my sophomore year, one of my friends had like mentioned it. And then I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna apply it for shits and giggles. They were like, you'd be really good at it. And at this time, like I didn't even live on campus. So I know a lot of other RAs, like they do their freshman, sophomore year. I lived off campus for both those years.
Oh, your freshman year too?
Yeah. I didn't want to live on campus because I just didn't want to share a bathroom.
Oh my God.
So I was like a petty little bitch, and I was like, I'm not gonna share a bathroom with like a bunch of animals.
Okay.
So I like lived off campus, and I lived in actually like Waikiki, which is like really close to the beach. Yeah. So that was also like a big part of it. Yeah. And then so when I applied, I'd never even lived in student housing.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So that's where we're a little different. I guess I just realized right now we should probably explain what an RA is. Oh, yeah. Because I realized not everybody went to college and not everybody understands the concept of an RA. So RA, at least for my program, was short for resident assistant. I know that they can be called like different things. And then we had an RD, which is your resident director, which essentially is your boss, right? Yeah. That's how my experience was. So in total, there were, I think, like 20-ish like RAs. Yeah. And we didn't have a lot of housing, and the way our housing was set up, it was not a traditional like dorm housing. They were all apartments, and there was either 4 people living in there or up to 8 people in an apartment. And there were 4 bedrooms. Yeah, it was a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Mine was very different then. So like we had RAs, but there was probably like 200 of us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like we filled up an auditorium because our student housing was really big. Like that was anywhere from like freshman to like graduate student housing. Okay. And you could have anywhere from like just 10 residents, depending on like what kind of community you lived in, to like I think mine was close to like 70 or 80 one year.
I was about to say, so I had about 60 every single year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then basically what an RA does is they are like it's like a camp counselor like type of thing. So
Hall
like
monitor, camp
yeah.
counselor, your mommy.
Yeah, like your person that you would go to for like resources, and it's
Mhm.
mostly supposed to be for like freshmen and sophomores. However, my campus was not like that at all. Like I lived in housing for 4 years. 2 of those years I was an RA, 2 of those years I wasn't, but I was working in housing. So before I became an RA, I was a housing like just assistant, like I worked in the office, and that's how I like transitioned because I didn't want to pay for an apartment. And that was the compensation for me. So to be an RA at my school, and I know it's different everywhere, so that's why I want to just like clarify this. You know what? It might have been more than 20 now that I'm thinking about it. I just know that there wasn't a lot of us, and every single one of us had about 60, 70, 80 residents, which when you think about it, guys, that's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people to be, you have to look over them, make sure that they are doing okay, answer all their questions. If they're having problems with their roommates, like you have to figure it out for them. Like there was a lot of responsibilities in being an RA. So it's a lot of people to like take care of, right? And you have to notify them of all the school events, at least like we had to. You have
honestly, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. And mind you, like most of them are freshmen and sophomores. They've never been outside of their homes, right? Like they've never, most of them obviously have lived with their families their whole life. So for most of them, this is a very liberating experience, to say the least. But yeah, so like, I don't think there was more, gosh, I could give you the exact number a couple years ago because I knew the exact number. But there was, I want to say there was less than like 2,000 people living in our housing. However, I do want to say the university I went to, they just built this massive like cast, like I'm talking like massive structure to house just freshmen because they got funding from the state. And I want to say it's like another 5,000 easily. So it's turning into, like my school was very much a commuter school, whereas I feel like your school was very much like a university. My school is turning into like a university, like where you come and stay for 4 years, you know?
Yeah. That experience must be totally different. Cause like at an RA, like you feel it. Like if people have to live there, they get a little, postal, they get a little stir crazy. If they commute there, it's probably, the student population is probably a lot different. And like in Hawaii, like there really wasn't, I mean, it's a small island, like there's nowhere to really go, but yeah, I think it's funny, like as an RA, like we were told like, oh, you have to know all of your residents. Well, first of all, that changes every fucking semester. And I'm sorry if there's 70 of you fuckers, I don't know your first name. Like, it's funny because like, did this ever happen to you? Like they would know, they'd be like, hi, Hannah. They'd be like, hi, Cassidy. And then I'd be like, hi, resident that I don't even know is my resident, but hello. Like, I'm like, sorry, girl, I do not know your name. I don't know anything about you. Are you my resident? Like, who are you?
It happened to me a couple times, but I will say I did know all of my residents. And
you were a good RA.
No, dude, like it wasn't even because of that. I want to say it was because of my previous housing experience, because when I worked in the office, I had to know everyone's names because I was pulling files, doing records. Like at one point I worked in the mailroom, so I literally memorized like everybody's name. And so it was just one of those things because I had already worked like with them before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, like, one of my residents, I don't know if she'll ever listen to this, but one of my residents is like a famous model now.
What? Like me? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, from what I know, I saw I think Rihanna or somebody reposted her, and I was like, oh my God, like I know that name.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, she was one of my residents. And I recognized her name first because there was, I'm telling you, like I had to do so many like document, like record things, like I just saw everybody's name. So this is
the frustrating thing about being in Hawaii. Literally everyone is a fucking model. Like I kid you not. Probably all of my residents are like models or famous photographers or something, and stupid.
That's crazy. I mean, in LA too. It was just random because she, from what I remember, was very quiet. Like I don't know, like you didn't know what her aspirations were. And I'm not even sure if she knew, but like now she's just like, she's beautiful. I mean, she was beautiful. Obviously she's always been beautiful, but like, yeah, she's like in the scene right now. So it's really interesting to see.
Good for her. Girl, I hate you.
For real, like she made it one way or another. So how long were you in RA? I was in RA for 2 years. Were you in RA for 2 years?
Yeah, I was in RA for 2 years, just the same. Actually, it was like 2 years and a summer.
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember you talking about summer. I did summers too.
Yeah.
I did 2 summers. So that is also a little different, at least for me, because our summers, our housing turned into basically a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for you. We used to
no, mine was like a little bit different. So like there are people who will take classes, but like during the summer, right? So they have to stay somewhere. And then also like the athletes that have to train during the summer, they usually have free student housing during the year. So like, can I actually talk about this for a little bit? Sure. I want to rant just a little. It's a small rant. Okay. So like summer RA experience was so different.
Oh, it was 100%.
Yeah. You're put in, for me, it was you're put in a freshman tower. I never lived in freshman towers, as I said before, because the fucking communal bathrooms. And they're like, you live on like a co-ed floor. Not all of them, but like the RAs do. And for some fucking reason, my co-ed floor was half football players. Fucking football players, and I'm sharing a bathroom with you. Like, they were like, it was so mentally hard for me, Hannah. Like, I can't even, like, I was stressed out every fucking day because using that bathroom, finding fucking pubes everywhere. And these are like these big, huge, hunking football players. And like, I'm not about to say anything to them. I'm scared.
Yes, but here's the worst part. Did you have maids or not? Sorry, not maids. Like just like
what you call them,
like a cleaning facility.
Yeah, we did. They only came like once a week.
We did not.
Then what did you do?
I had to clean them.
No,
I had
honey.
to clean them, or the maintenance staff would have to clean them. Like I was changing.
How often would they come?
Well, so it would depend. So when all the kids moved out every year at the end of the summer, they would do a cleaning service. So cleaning service would come at the beginning of the summer and at the end of the summer. And so in between,
I'm shook.
No, Cass, it was barbaric. Like it was just weird. Like honestly, it was.
I couldn't do it. See, that's why I was fucking stressed out. Like it fucked with my head. Literally, like it made me feel unclean at all times. Like when I would shower, I would feel so just still not clean. It just messed with my mind, and I'm a clean freak. So it was really hard for me to deal with that.
I think any type of like communal stuff like that, like especially at this age where like people don't know how to clean yet because sometimes like their parents literally babied them until the last freaking second. So there's people who've never taken out the trash before. There's people who have literally never picked up a sponge or have never done their laundry before. Like it's just so insane to me.
Yeah. I think like if being an RA or just like living in college with other people in general has taught me, it's that people we're all raised so differently because 100%. As RAs, we inspect the rooms, right? Like we go around, you just meet a ton of people and you see how they live, and you grow up thinking like how you live, whether you're like clean, messy, clutter, you think that that's normal. And then you see how people live and you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm okay. Like, I'm not like this person. My parents always used to tell me like, oh my gosh, you're so dirty. Like clean it. No. No. And people would always ask me this question. Sorry to like cut you off from your little rant, but people would always ask me like, who is dirtier, boys or girls? And I want to hear your story. Exactly.
This is it. It's a toss up. It's a toss up because
always ask me like, oh, the boys are messier, huh? Like, and I'm like, honestly, but it's because girls are petty.
Yes. Oh my God. There's so many things like they will not clean. And I'm a little guilty of this too. It's like, I'm not going to fucking clean that. That's not my mess. Or like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But I will say the one difference is I think that there is a difference in smell. Like, I think boys are maybe more inclined to have a smelly room. It could be clean, but like, I don't even think they realize sometimes they have like that gym smell, like that dirty clothed gym smell.
Yeah, exactly.
And girls are maybe more aware of that.
Yeah.
But girls can be messy too. Ooh.
Oh, no. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I just think it's so fascinating, like that phenomenon of like literally girls would always come up to me and be like, yeah, we know the boys are like, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I can distinctly remember going to one of these apartments. It was the one with like 8 people. And I just was repulsed. Like I could not walk in because of how bad it smelled. But it was because these girls had set up a schedule of who was going to take the trash out. And mind you, I hate talking about this, but like taking the trash out, like certain, you know, cleaning things are gendered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was growing up, my mom would always say to my brother, like, take the trash out, you know, whatever. And which is totally not okay. Anybody can take the trash out. I take the trash out now. I'm sure that you take the trash out now.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. But
no,
like,
I find a guy. I call him from the streets.
but like, I just feel like it was just a war in this apartment that these girls did not want to take the trash out. They had a schedule. And I guess the girls' turn, whoever's turn it was, she was gone that week. And all 7 other girls, it was 8 people living in this apartment. All 7 other girls refused to take out the trash because it wasn't their turn. And I was like, I can't, how are you guys in here? It was like spoiled milk or something. It was disgusting. I will never forget that smell. Oh my gosh.
That's freaking crazy. That's so gross. Like I believe in pettiness to a certain point, because you got to put your foot down sometimes with like roommates. If you sent these, what are they called? The roommate agreements, and you've agreed to a certain thing, you have to stick to it. But at some point, like, look, all 7 of y'all are okay with like living in a smelly ass room. That's not, I couldn't do it.
And not that they were, but they were just so like, I'm not going to do it. It's not my turn. We set up the schedule for a reason. And I was like, girl, but she's not here.
Yeah, I know, but your place is smelling like a pigsty. Like, get it together.
Okay, so we were RAs for about 2 years. I went back that second year because I was like, you know what, I can do it. Like I can do this. It wasn't that bad. Which in hindsight, I don't think it was that bad. I do think it was an okay of a trade-off. Did you get paid to be an RA?
Yeah. So my situation was like, we got free housing, free meals, and you got a stipend. So that stipend wasn't a lot, but like, let's say you could opt out of the meal plan if you lived in a place that had like a kitchen, and then that stipend would be like a little bit more each month. And that was prime.
So we got free, now that I'm thinking about it, we got free meals, free housing. We did not get a stipend. However, I had financial aid, so I was okay with it. But I also had to work a job. And like, that's how, I mean, I'm glad that I did in hindsight. Like I ended up working my way up at the other place that I was working at. But yeah, I was working basically full-time as an RA, part-time job on the side, but still kind of working full-time hours, and a full-time student. That's crazy. A lot. It was a lot. You know, sometimes
I literally go ahead.
No, sometimes you're working like, you know, when I was on duty, right? So we can talk about that, but I was working 16 to like 20-hour shifts.
Hannah, my first semester as an RA, I literally failed 2 classes. It was so hard.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, this is when I was still a pre-med bio major, so I could have just been a dumb bitch, but like, I'm pretty sure it was contributing to like, you spend like nights up till like fucking the sun rises. So it was definitely contributed to it.
So I want to just like clear the misconception right now, because I think a lot of people listening are like, I hated my RA, or I hated the RAs because they would always write me up, or like the RAs were like secretly evil, or like they had this hidden agenda. So I just want to clear that up right now with no. do you really think that I like wanted to do all those incident reports? Do you really think I wanted to sit there and bust you for doing all the drugs and all the drinking and everything that we had to do? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think that's such a funny, like everyone thinks like the RAs are like out to get them. And I will say like, maybe there are some really few like bitter ones out there, but for the most part, like how I conducted myself and how a lot of other people conducted themselves, especially in like the really high conduct areas, was that like, I would look and I'd like, put that shit away before I have to do something about it. It's like, so much work. It's literally so much work to write people up. I would just be like, look, like if people were not dying, if they were not rude to me, if they were willing to correct it,
putting themselves in human harm, like in some way where I'm like, dang, the police are about to be called in like an hour, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like if you're literally not dying and you're not killing anyone else, like please just like get your shit together and like we don't have to have a problem because it was so much work. And then on top of that, like if you weren't being rude and like you were being really nice about it, I was likely to just be like, nah, I didn't see that.
Like, bro, like some of these people were either my age or even older because we also had graduate housing. And so there were some people like well into like their 30s and 40s living in my
How do you tell someone that old to be like, there's been a noise complaint?
house? Okay, so I think it's time to go into story time.
Yes.
Because I have so many stories specifically about this incident, right? There were these two girls and they were older. Okay. Like I'm talking like, I think they were both in like their early 30s and they were both in graduate programs, so master's programs. And we had actually a lot of grad students like at our school that needed housing. We had a lot of international, a lot of like low income, like types of housing. And I think you did too, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So there were these two girls. And basically, I was just called to this incident one night. I knew that there was like something kind of going on between them, but it was just two girls in a 2-bedroom apartment. And I got called to an incident when I was on duty at like, I don't know, like 11 p.m., which is early, like in the RA world, like that's pretty early. And my partner was already there. So as an RA, at least for me, you would always have a partner. You would always have someone that you would be on duty with, meaning like if you got a call or something happened, you both would respond to the incident, right? My partner was already there. And my partner was actually one of my really, really close friends. And so I was like, what's going on? The cops were there. I believe there was an ambulance for like some type of like medical care there too. These two grown women were again being petty, and like I don't even know the full situation at this point, but we were called because she wanted to basically press charges on her roommate because her roommate put Nair in her face wash.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Are you serious? No, I've never heard of anything like that before.
Cass, they were grown women, and I knew who these two people were, and like I was just like, why are we here? Like, this is so crazy. So now that they had been pulling, not pranks, because it wasn't like funny, like they genuinely hated each other. They had been doing stuff to each other for weeks. And my like manager had known about it and was like, I don't know, I guess they were kind of like on watch or whatever. And so that's why the cops were involved. And there was like assault charges like pressed and like all the stuff, which in hindsight, that's actually pretty scary to like put Nair in somebody's face wash. Like not only is like all of their hair going to come off of their face, but it's like, you know, I don't know, like the chemicals and stuff, like you're not supposed to put that stuff on your face.
Yeah, that's like that's going farther than like just a prank.
Yeah, I can't even remember the other like stuff that they did together or did to each other, but I know that it was like a very back and forth like thing.
I've heard of that too. Like I can't think of anything specific, but I know like there had been so many times where they're like are like resident like wars between each other and like them trying to get back at roommates and stuff. That's such a common thing. And I think that's like so weird, like where it gets to the point where you're just like, okay, we got to move you.
So we got a question. I put an Instagram little question thing on my story, and one of our listeners would like to know the weirdest story we have or the weirdest thing that we have seen being an RA. And I have my answer, but I want to hear if you have a story first.
You want me to go first? Okay. Yeah. So like, I feel like the first things that happened were probably the most significant. So like, this may not be like the weirdest one, but it was just the one that like sticks in my memory the most. It was my first like few days as an RA after you go through like a whole summer of training. Right. And
oh my gosh, those trainings.
Fucking forever. They were exhausting, but helpful, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
So we are in the process of like checking people out from their summer visit or stay with us so that we can get ready for like the next weekend when all the new residents come in for their summer term or fall term actually. Yeah. And then so we're one of the rooms, someone like just hadn't checked out. I don't know. Does that happen with you where like people just like leave all their shit and like don't check out?
No, that's happened. And like we would have to like put it all in like trash bags and then take it out ourselves.
Yeah, you have to like inventory everything, put it in trash bags, all that stuff. So this happened to one of our rooms, and this room was disgusting. It was so messy. There were like literally stuff everywhere. It was a boy's room. He like it had appeared that he just like disappeared and like, or like didn't even know that it was like move out day. Because his stuff was just like he hadn't even touched it. And then his like fridge had like maggots in it, and we have to clean all of this stuff out, right? Because you can't.
I've cleaned maggots before.
Yeah, because you have like you can't throw away like their stuff, because like what if, even if it's like a fucking cup, you know, it's like, well, they could come back to you and be like, well, you threw away a cup, it's like sentimental value.
My school was like, you left it there, like it's time.
Well, like at the time, like this was brand new RA, so I was really trying to like follow the rules, but like I think I ended up like anything that was in the fridge, I think I ended up like tossing out. But like even like small little stuff like his shaver, or like just he left it like in such like a fucking mess. And then we're getting to the like my partner or whatever, she's in one room, and like we're just kind of, I think we were so bad. Okay, he left his computer there, right? And like so we flip up the thing, and like I don't know, we were just being fucking nosy bitches. Like we were fucking tired. It was the summer. We were all sweaty and just fucking taking our time. I think we saw on there, he had like 18 like tabs open up, and they were all like porn. And it was like, I just remember looking at that and I was like, okay, I'm going to shut this. Like, I don't want to see that. But like literally like porn
like,
popped up.
Also like, where is he? You know?
Yeah. Like where is this guy? Like, how do you just like leave? Like, you just don't know that today's move out day and your shit is going to be there. Later I found out that this was like typical behavior for him, just so that he can have his RAs move all of his shit out for him. And then he would show up later and just take the like $100 fine or whatever it was. Because he was like a rich kid who like could afford $100. But I mean, it's $100, but like,
no.
Yeah. So basically, so that we would do all of the cleaning and work for him, which honestly smart on him, but shitty for us. We did not get paid enough to do that. But then, okay. So then we're cleaning out all the stuff. I have like a trash bag and like gloves, because it's like stuff is smelly and gross. And then I like pick up this thing. Okay. So then I'm like picking up this thing, and, you know, I'm putting it in a bag. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this thing? And it's shaped like a cylinder. And then like, I turned to my partner and I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, what is he using this? It's in the bathroom. Hannah, guess what it is?
I don't guess. What is it?
It's a penis pump.
Oh my God. I was like, oh my God. Is it like one of those like those pocket things? Like,
no, not like a pocket pussy, but like
yeah.
I was like, I screamed, because like my friend was like, oh my God, put that down. And I was like, what? Like, what is it? And then she told me, and then like, let me tell you, that was like, so we had found like dirty used condoms on his like fucking bed and on the ground. Porn is on his thing, and a penis pump. I was like, there's literally not anything in this room at this point that is gonna surprise me. Like, I'm just looking for his like blow up doll at this point. Like, it's so fucking gross.
Oh my, okay. I never experienced like anything like really sexual like that.
Oh, this was like on the daily, you just find like people are gross, they're sexual, because you're living amongst like horny teenagers that have freedom for the first time. And they just like go wild and crazy.
I've walked in on people like doing rounds and stuff like that, and like having to like break up parties and stuff. Like I've walked in on people, but I've very much like been like, this is your problem, not my problem. Like, put your clothes on, like get out here, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no. Okay. I've never really experienced anything like that.
So fucking gross.
Oh my gosh. So my weird story is like the complete 180. So I walked in on like a seance one time, like a ritual like seance. Yeah. So I was doing rounds, and as I was doing rounds, and it was like the early rounds too. It was like the 8 p.m. or like 10 p.m. So at my school, we had to do rounds at like 3 different times. So like at 8 p.m., at 10 p.m., and at midnight. Which rounds are just like, you literally just walk the whole housing facility. You have like a certain route that you go, that they teach you like how to do things. And we were doing rounds, and I don't even remember who I was with. But I saw like on this bathroom like window, and I knew it was a bathroom just because like I knew the layouts of all the apartments, a candle burning in the window. And it was like right next to the screen. And I was like, oh my gosh. So in our facilities, you weren't allowed to have candles because of like fire hazards and whatever kind of shit that they tell you that you can't like have in housing for whatever reason, right? Which I love candles, so I was really upset about that. But so I remember it was on the second floor, and I remember walking up and I was like, I'm just afraid like it's gonna catch the screen on fire, and then I'm gonna be under duty when the fire department is called, and whatever. And so I'm like, let me just nip this in the butt right now. So I go up to the apartment, I knock on the door, and this girl comes to the door. So I immediately know it's a girl's apartment. And all the lights are turned off. And this girl answers the door and she's like, hey, like, what's up? And I'm like, hey, like, is everything okay? And like the way the apartment is like when you open the door, you can see straight through the whole apartment. And it's the bathroom. So I could see the candle like when she opened the door. But then she was like, hi. And I'm like, hey, I just need you to, and then I realized I like looked over her shoulder to the bathroom. There were candles everywhere lit, like in the bathroom, like in a little circle. And I was like, and all the lights are off. So I'm like, okay, like, I'm like, is everything okay? I'm like, do you mind if I come in? Like, when you get that feeling when you're an RA, like something else is probably going on here.
They just act all fishy too. Like they just act like, hi. And you're like,
you're like,
what are you doing?
What's going on? Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, can I come in? And she's like, yeah, sure. And so I come in and I walk a little bit closer to the bathroom, and there's like a full on seance. There's a girl sitting in the middle of the like bathroom tile with her candles around her. She's like saying something. And then the girl who opened the door comes up behind me and is like, hey. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. She's like, that's my roommate. She's doing some type of seance. Like, we've tried at this point. We don't know what's going on with her. So it wasn't like the whole apartment, but it was this one girl, and all of the roommates were like fed up. So they just let her do whatever she wanted. And it was like a religious too, like seance. Like, I don't know. I didn't really get the full story from there, but I was like, hey, like, you need to like trying to talk to her as she's like doing her seance things. Like, hey, like, you need to turn out the candles, like, stop. Like, and she wouldn't listen to me. So I had to call my RD. I had to call my manager that was on duty that night. So as an RA, like, you are on duty as well as your partner, but then there's also like someone above you, thank God, like a manager person to come like when situations are kind of weird or serious, right? And it was early on in the night, so I was like, okay, let me just call them because I don't know what the heck is going on. This girl's not listening to me. And so my manager comes, and it was a dude, and he was like, hey, like trying to like pat on her, like, hey, like, you can't have these candles. And there was like 100 candles.
I know. I'm like, that's what I'm picturing.
And I'm like, he's like, hey, like, hello. And he's like, you know what, you guys can leave. Like, I got this. And then I followed up the next morning. The girl was just supposedly like deep in her like ritual or whatever the heck.
She's in a trance.
Sure, her body was like possessed or something. Like, I don't know. It was weird. And like, I don't even know like how it got resolved or like what happened afterwards. I never had to go back to that apartment. So I honestly don't even know what happened, but
it might have like cast a spell on you.
Honestly, I don't know if she was doing some like taboo, like the freaking dolls or something. Like, I don't know.
If you ever get like sudden chest pain years in the future, you'll know what it's from.
Yeah. Okay. So then we also got another question to talk about, or another request to talk about our drug stories. I feel like as an RA, those were the biggest things that I came encountered with were like things that had to do with drugs and alcohol. Like, those were the biggest like problems.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, like, okay, so Hawaii, everyone smokes weed. It's like
and we were RAs. Well, for me, I was an RA when California made weed legal.
Oh,
so that was, shit. I have a story about that, but go on.
Yeah. So like, I would say, yeah, like a lot of our conduct stuff was like, okay, we were doing room inspections and you fucking had your bong out, or like, okay, your fucking room was the hot box.
That happened a lot.
It did. It happened so often. Like, we were confiscating like bongs and like pipes. I don't even know. I'm not a smoker, so I don't really know, but like so many drugs, and especially being Hawaii with like weed, such like, it's like how people have like their morning coffee. Students would be grabbing like their morning weed. I don't like blunt. I don't even know. I'm sorry.
They're waking
Sorry,
big.
everyone out there. I don't know anything about the weed culture.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was just like so common. So we were always confiscating. I think one of my friends even told me a story about how like they were checking in a package and like a whole bag of like weed fell out of the package. Just like
That happened to me once when I was working in the mailroom. They had weed delivered in like a bathing suit like type package.
Oh my
And I was
God.
like, oh my gosh, this package smells dank. Like it is 100% weed in here. And my manager in the housing office had to open it because we weren't allowed to obviously open other people's mails, at least as a student. And so our managers had to open it in the office. And yeah, there was like a bunch of weed inside.
Yeah. People think they're so slick. Like you're not slick.
No, you're not. And also just like if you're in college right now or you plan on like dorming or whatever, like just fess up to it. Like don't try to lie to me.
Yeah.
I once had this guy run from me and jump out of a second-story building because he didn't want to get caught by me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
People run. It is the funniest thing because as like an RA, like sometimes you do things as like a group, but like I remember some RAs will run after you and like some will not. I would not run after people. I'm not fucking running.
They specifically told us not to run. Like if someone
you're not supposed to.
Like,
some have an ego though.
Some people would like, but that's the thing. Like some people would know who it was, and if they lived on campus or if they knew like the type of, because that's the thing. Some people didn't even live on campus, right? And so, but they went to they went to the school, right? And so they were afraid that they were going to get in trouble with the school if they got written up in housing, when in reality, you guys, like unless like you like murdered someone or did some type of assault, like the school does not care.
Yeah, no, like same thing here. So we had a lot of military, right? Because like Oahu has a lot of military bases, and they were like, the fucking military guys would always like come. Oh, sorry, not to bash on military. Love you, support the troops, but blah 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 blah. But like the douchebags that just so happened to be associated with the military would come on the college campus, like hit on girls or whatever, right?
Oh my God.
I know, it's so stupid, but they wouldn't know that like, bruh, like you can't have an open bottle. And then so like they would run or like they would not give us straight answers. And I'm like, what the fuck do you think is going to happen here, sir? Like, you're on a college campus. I'm an RA. Like I'm a student. I'm not the police. I'm not going to report you to the police.
Right.
Just get out of here. Just like move along.
And the police are the same way. I feel like the police are the same way.
Yes.
On a college campus. Like you really think they want to sit here and do a report for your open like case container or whatever for your alcohol? Like, no, like, do you know how many reports they would have to do a night?
Oh my God. So was this your case? Like we had the police, the ambulance and the fire department come at least one, or no, I'm not even saying like at least like multiple times a night across all of our communities. Was it like that for you?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So, well, I wouldn't say multiple, but they were called at least once a night. Like if it was like a Thursday or Friday night, just for us, because we're a commuter school, right? So like not a lot of people had classes on Fridays. So like the turn up nights in college are actually Thursday nights.
Yes. Yeah.
Nobody ever wanted to be on duty on Thursday nights because Thursday nights were like it, right? And people would go crazy. But Thursday nights, they would be called multiple times a night. And then Friday nights, they would be called multiple times a night.
Yeah. Same.
It's just, I don't know, like and the police, like, they're like, we don't want to ruin these kids' lives by like giving them like a felony, you know what I mean? Like they don't want to do any of this stuff. So I don't know, like if you ever get caught by your RAs, the best thing that you can do for yourself, if you're like in the apartment or whatever, sit your ass down in the living room or whatever common area space that you have. And I'm sure that this is like true for you. Sit in the common area space with your student ID or your ID ready to go and just sit there and take it, because it's like nothing is going to happen to you. If you live there, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to have a meeting with like my boss or whoever it is, and you just have to explain like why you decided to throw a party or why you decided to do drugs. And literally most of our RDs were very much like, okay, you have to write me an essay.
Yes, it's so true. Like the worst
a 5-paragraph essay, like what? Gosh, it's just so ridiculous.
No, like I think if like I had advice to people, it's just like don't be stupid enough to get caught. 2, if you do get caught and they don't know you're a resident there, give a fake name.
Honestly, but I still wouldn't advise that because most of these people I would see multiple times a week.
Yeah. So like, there's really no way of knowing if people know you or not. And like, so
I just assume that they know you because I feel like I knew everyone.
Yeah, they were
like the troublemakers.
Yeah. So there were some RAs that I worked with, like they knew their memories were just like that. Like they knew your face, they knew your name, they knew where you lived.
100%.
Me, I have terrible memory. That was not the case. So I guess, yeah, just if you do get caught, just like fess up to it. It's going to be your life will be so much easier.
It was Cass. It was to the point where I would go to one apartment and it would be one group of people. And then 2 hours later, while I was doing rounds or whatever it was, I would go to another apartment that was having a party or whatever. And it would be the same people and they would give me another fake name. And I'm like, really, Donald? Really? Like,
yeah.
Okay, you mean your name is Joseph? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they really think you're so dumb. Like they think you're dumb.
It's just so annoying. But most of the people that are telling you to throw those parties, guys, like they've thrown parties at other apartments and they've already had meetings with like people and they're like, there's usually something going on. And I think
100%.
Age, like there's just so like at this age, especially like 18, 19, 20, 21, like that's when like most mental health disorders like come out. And so people keep an eye on you. Like, I'm just letting you know that, like, especially if you're a repeat offender, like I can't even tell you how many times like I found out that my residents were diagnosed with schizophrenia or an anxiety disorder or an alcoholic, or, you know, were involved in some type of assault and had some type of like post-traumatic disorder. Like, and we do keep logs of all of this basically just for your safety and everyone else's safety too. You know, real shit happens. Like this is like real life stuff, you know?
Yeah, no, I would say like, if you're thinking of becoming an RA, like it's not for the faint of heart. It is not for the faint of heart. Yeah. Because a lot of the stuff you deal with, like you don't realize it, but like you're dealing with, you get invested into like people's lives, like their daily lives. Like for me, I got sick. I got so stressed out. My grades were failing because like I was taking on way too much of my job and I was getting too invested in my residents. And like, you just get caught up with like their stresses. I mean, if this, like that's the type of person I am too. Like I'm an empath. So like their problems became my problems. It was so stressful. And like, it was just, it's not for the lighthearted. Like that. Like you have to kind of have tough skin there.
Yeah, and like the trainings that you have to go through to be an RA, like they train you how to deal with someone who is about to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
They train you on how to, you know, talk someone out of it, or like how to deal with someone who is opening up to you about their sexual assault. Like they train you on everything. And that's what and you use those trainings. I never thought I was going to use them. I was like, oh, this is just in case, you know, just in case I run into a situation like this. But like,
you'll probably use it.
I very much used it if like not once a month, like every couple months, like something major like that was going on. And you kind of have to use those trainings and your instincts to like roll with the situation, right? So we talked a lot about like weird and like gross and bad stories. Do you have like a fulfilling, like, wow, like this is why I kind of do stuff, like the best story about being an RA? And it doesn't even have to do with like your residence, but maybe just like the overall experience.
Yeah. So I think my like best thing that was like the outcome of being an RA was not my residence, was not the job. It was really about the people I met, like the fellow RAs. Like they tend to kind of be, right? Like they tend to kind of be like a certain personality. And I think it ranges, but like they tend to be people. They tend to be just like really like overachiever, just like stellar people, not to like, you know, like chip on my shoulder, but like really though, like I met some of the most stellar, amazing people that like today have been like the most influential people in my life. And they've taught me so much. So I think for me, it was really personal growth. Like I learned so much, met the most amazing, incredible RAs. Like I don't think you don't meet very many people like that, you know? And to be put in like a huge group of people like that, where they're like, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like one of my best friends, like ever, like that I know she's going to be in my life. Like we connected so like on a whole different level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she was an RA and that's how I kind of met her. Not really, but we were literally like two peas in a pod when we were RAs together. We would always do our shifts together, our programs together. And yeah, just like an amazing group of people. I don't actually talk to a lot of people that I still work with, but like there were a lot of RAs that were like, again, there for their like master's program or graduate program. So they were a little bit older than me and like could guide me through a lot of situations, like whether it be through school or like my personal relationships, or even how to like deal with situations as an RA, because I wasn't fully equipped or like mature to like make certain decisions. But like, yeah, like they're really, it is a certain type of person. I think that becomes an RA. Most of us are like empaths. I 100% believe, like if you're an RA and you're not an empath, like this is not the job for you. I'll tell you that right now. You have to be super patient, super understanding, super compassionate. Like it is for sure. And then we would go on like little retreats. We would go on retreats every year and just a lot of things together.
I feel like you're very emotional, like a thoughtful, kind of like a pensive type of person too. Like you have deep thoughts if you're an RA.
Exactly. And you have deep thoughts about the world in general. Like
yes, yeah.
Things. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about is, you know, RA life. And this was the last question that was asked on my little poll on Instagram is, Cassidy, did you ever sleep with one of your residents?
And I fucking wish.
Oh my gosh, I can't. And like, was there any rules at your school? Because there were rules at my school.
Yeah. So I personally never slept with any of my residents. I know that was definitely a thing, but if you were going to do it, keep it on the DL. No one, I feel like no one on my staff has ever gotten in trouble for it, but I know for sure that was like always happening. And there's like always like a stigma about like the people, especially like the guys who were RAs in the freshman towers sleeping with their freshman RAs. And it's like, you know, it's like a power thing too. It's like these guys were not even cute, but they were like, girls would sleep with them because it was like, you know, you want like the daddy energy or whatever the fuck, or you like authority. I don't get it, but.
Oh, no, I don't think that happened.
No,
I don't think that happened with me. No. And technically, I guess I slept with one of my residents, but we were already in a committed relationship before this resident
okay
moved to housing, and is still my partner today. But I did have to let my boss know about it. So it was very much a unspoken rule, right? Like it wasn't in any contracts or it wasn't like in anything, but we definitely had conversations of not only can you not sleep with your residents or anyone that lives in housing, but you cannot sleep with other RAs. And I will say that people were sleeping with other people if you were like RAs were sleeping with other RAs.
Oh, for sure. So I'm actually guilty of this. Well, because like you just spend so much time with them and like, you know what I mean? Like, and like in the summer, like they're literally the only people that you're like seeing. So like sometimes it just happens, like they're just there by default. But this person who ended up becoming my ex, blah, 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 but like, and also, and
this person was an RA? I didn't know that.
Yes, because they got fired. Because they were that dumb RA to get in trouble for partying.
Oh my gosh.
Red flag. Should have known right from the jump.
You should have known.
I know I should have, but I'm a dumb one. So, but yeah, so technically, yeah, but then I remember like his RD and mine, like they know, like they already know what's up. Like they were like, so I hear that you're seeing Cassidy, the RA in Wainani or whatever, wherever I lived at the time. And then he's like, and like they just already know, but you are supposed to like tell them, which can be really uncomfortable because I feel like it was like you're having to like what is it, DFT or DTF, or define the relationship of DTR.
Well, my situation was different. We were together before my significant other moved into housing. We were together after. We're still together now. So it was a different situation. But no, there were people that were dating. I remember one of my RA friends too, like was full on like having a relationship with a resident and like just having to keep it on the DL. Like, I don't like, you know, like it was just,
or they would like move communities, right? So like, I feel like that was the thing too. So it's like, you weren't dating your direct resident. They would be like dating your coworker, or like it would become your coworker's resident.
Right. But I don't know. I just think it's such a weird dynamic working at the place that you live, right? And then also having a relationship with someone at your workplace, but that is also the place that you live. Like, it's just, it is so freaking messy. Like, it's so messy to where I don't think anybody can relate unless you've been an RA in that situation.
Yeah, it gets messy because like everyone knows your business. They're going to know your work life business, your relationship business.
And I feel like everybody thinks that they have a one up on you too. Like, people would be like, I know who you're dating. And I'd be like, great, I know who I'm dating too. Like, what do you want me to do about that? Like, I don't understand.
People just love being nosy.
Yeah.
And like, as in people, I mean me.
All right, Cass, thank you so much for coming on my podcast and talking about RA things. Yeah, is there anything, like, if anybody is wanting to become an RA, do you have any advice for them? I think school's got to go back in the fall, so hopefully there'll be some type of RA program.
Yeah, my like one advice would be don't. No, but honestly, thank you, Hannah, so much for having me on your podcast. It's definitely not because I'm like your only friend with a podcast mic. That's not it for sure.
I mean, you know, it helps.
But it was such an honor to like relive these traumatizing 2 years I spent as an RA.
Really, there's so much that goes down. There's so many, like, gosh, just so many drug stories, so many inappropriate stories. Inappropriate. RAs are not paid enough. If you were mean to your RA, like, find them on some type of social media and apologize, because
send them money through Venmo or like buy them a cookie. I'm specifically talking to my residents who follow me. Find my Venmo. I'll link it in my bio because you owe me, bitches. I've saved you guys from bushes when you were drunk. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. There were so many times where I was like, I don't see you. Keep walking.
Yeah. Yeah. we deserve a thank you.
Yeah. And just like, you know, I mean, the job is fulfilling, but it is not for all. And that's what I will say. You got to know what you're signing up for, because it is not, like, if you're doing it just for the free housing, it is not for you.
You're not going to cut it. You will quit.
Oh, 100%. And if you don't quit, you're going to be hating your life for at least a year.
And you'll be
hating your life. Oh my gosh. All right, Cass, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Hannah. Follow me on Instagram, bitches.
Oh, yes. Follow her on Instagram, Cass. I don't know the spelling of it, so I'm just going to put it on the screen.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and go into the news.
Okay. So let's talk about what happened last week, starting off with the Grammys, because I just finished watching them. Oh my goodness. I think that was a really good award show. I don't know, there was something like really refreshing about it. I don't know if it was like the order or how they did things kind of differently. I don't know, the way that it was structured. I liked how they came out at the beginning with like multiple performances. Bruno did really good. Dua did really good. Meg, Cardi, like, I don't know. The performances were really well done, but mind you, like half of them, actually more than half of them, were pre-recorded. So like you didn't have to worry about switching stages, being rushed, like things like that. Like, I don't know. I liked the format of this one, and like just having the people who were nominated there, not being overcrowded. Obviously, like Beyonce, like, was obviously amazing. The whole speech where Meg went on she won her award and then got up on stage and was like looking over her shoulder, and like Beyonce's right there and she cannot believe it. I was dying. Like, I thought that was so cute. Like, that was just, I don't know, like Beyonce obviously is like the queen as Meg Thee Stallion, like Beyonce is the queen. And so it's just, I don't know, it was so cute to see, especially because like a lot of us know the backstory with Meg and like how much she idolizes Beyonce. I just feel like that was such a cute story. I thought even BTS did pretty well. I don't know. I just think overall it was a really good award show. Obviously, I don't agree with some of the people who won. Like, I don't think Taylor should have gotten Album of the Year, but whatever. I also don't think Billie should have got Song of the Year, Record of the Year. But it is what it is. Like, you could kind of tell who they're going to give it to based on who's there, right? And then, I don't know, whatever. I truly do think that this was a step in the good direction. Award shows are usually very cookie cutter. You know what's going to happen next. And with this award show, I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I thought it was really well put together. I really enjoyed it. Just to go over a couple other things, I watched a couple movies. I watched Yes Day on Netflix as well as the Biggie documentary. Both were pretty good. Yes Day was a very family-friendly movie. It's not for adults, I'll let you know that. I thought it was for like everyone, but it's not. It's very based like towards little kids, and Jennifer Gardner is very cute in the movie. Just to talk about things that everyone's talking about, J-Lo and Alex Rodriguez supposedly broke up, but then J-Lo addressed it, and I guess they didn't break up. I don't know, but I hope that they're okay. Maybe, I don't know. The stimulus check bill passed, or COVID relief passed this past week, so we should be getting our relief checks. I saw on Twitter that Wells Fargo was trending as well, I believe as Chase, that customers were really upset that I guess both of those banks said that you are not going to get your stimulus till March 17th. And if you don't know how all of that works, like it's due to like interest charges, and then people were saying overdraft charges, like they're trying to get as much money as they possibly can out of you, which is really upsetting. And I really hope that these banks in the future like really look at this stuff and put their customers first rather than themselves. And yeah, I'm hoping that I get my stimulus check soon too. Going on in the world. So the world is just opening, everyone. Like the world is opening. A lot of people are getting vaccines and getting vaccinated, which is great. But the world is opening very, very fast. And I don't know if anybody else has realized that. But it's opening very fast and very quickly, and not just in America, but all over the world. And it's making me kind of freaked out, but I think me, myself, and I'm just going to take it one step at a time, and I advise you to too if you are getting a little scared like I am. Also going on in the world, Piers Morgan left Good Morning Britain after the TV station received over 40,000 complaints about his comments with Meghan Markle and how she supposedly, dissed the crown. But he has left, and Piers Morgan is like the Ryan Seacrest of America, and so obviously a lot of people were talking about it, but he said some very inappropriate things, so I think it was okay for him to leave. I hope he comes out and apologizes at the very least, and realizes like he was in a very privileged position to be saying what he was saying, and becomes a better person out of it, Also, things that are going on in the world. I saw the hashtag Free Haiti, or like Stand with Haiti, happening. There's a lot of corruption happening in Haiti right now. There's a lot of poverty, and because of that, kidnappings have started to happen, and ransom letters are being put out there for those kidnappings, because there's just a lot of corruption going on, and a lot of celebrities are trying to bring awareness to it, trying to get their president to resign. And I feel like just Haiti can't catch a break. Like, a couple years ago with the horrible natural disasters. And now it just doesn't seem like their country is doing very well. And so I'm hoping that we could probably shed some light on that in the near future, and really, try to help them out. I'm hoping, but there's a lot of corruption going on in Haiti, if you didn't already know. And then what's going on in the internet and like videos. So this video went viral of these Lyft I think it was an Uber passengers who were refusing to wear a mask and then assaulted their Uber driver. Uber then banned these 3 passengers. I believe the driver's pressing charges, and then Lyft came out in solidarity, and it has banned those passengers too from their app, because that is absolutely not okay. I watched a little bit of the video. They completely attack him. I don't know what was really happening before the video started recording, but it very much looks like the Uber driver was just trying to tell them to put their masks on, or he was not going to drive them to their destination, and they become irate. It sounds like the 3 women that were the passengers in this situation have other accounts of fraud and other just things on their chart. And yeah, like that's not okay. Like, I used to drive for Uber for a little bit at a certain point in my life, and for Uber and for Lyft. And like, just for the sheer fact that I know the like scared and like nervous feeling that you get when you have someone in your car and you're like on the freeway and they're being extremely disrespectful or they're drunk. It's just such a nasty place to be in, such a nasty feeling to get, because you really can't control the situation. And I don't know, it's just, and like, it's your car, so it's not like you can get out of the car, you know, and leave the situation. Like, you have to try to get them out of your vehicle, and it's just, it's such a bad situation. And so I'm really hoping that that other people learn from their mistakes, and yeah, like that these situations don't happen again. Just please just wear your mask. Like, I don't understand the big deal. I really just don't understand it. Like, and I can go on and on and on about, we wear shoes, guys. Like, we wear socks. Like, we wear clothes because that is what is asked of us. Like, I don't know. And they protect us, like our shoes protect us from the hot ground or the cold ground or the rocky grounds or whatever you are stepping on. Like, that's why we wear shoes. We wear a mask to not only protect us, but protect others from something that is airborne that could potentially kill people. Like, I just don't understand. And I don't care if you don't believe it. I don't care. Like, it's just for the well-being of everyone. I don't know. I just don't get it. That's all I have for the news today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of talking about our RA stories. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of advice. So this past week, I really just had to slow down because there was a lot going on. And I was trying to get a lot done. You know, I'm trying to work out every day. I'm trying to stretch every day. I also work 8 hours a day. I also have this podcast. I'm also trying to post on social. I'm also trying to do always just a million things all at the same time, right? Give yourself some grace. Just slow down this week. Take things one step at a time. And things just start to become easier, I have found. That all those things and all those checklists in your head that you are trying to get done, all of a sudden just start getting done if you do them one step at a time. So that's my advice this week. Slow down and just relax, which I know is very hard to do, especially coming from someone like me who needs to be doing something at all times. So I know it's hard, but do it. Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope you had a great time. Please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, all of those things. Listen to me on Apple Podcasts if you're not already, or Spotify, as well as YouTube for the visual version. Thank you all so much for listening again, and this was Honestly Hannah.